Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Biohacking Beauty, the podcast where we dive deep into the latest strategies to achieve youthful, glowing skin through the power of biohacking. I'm your host, Amitai Eshel, and today we are thrilled to have a very special guest with us. But first, a word about Young Goose, the company that this podcast is by, company I co-founded. At Young Goose, we're dedicated to simplifying your skincare routine with innovative biohacking solutions that keep your skin looking youthful and vibrant. Now, let me introduce today's guest, Jodi Duval. Jodi is a renowned naturopath, nutritionist, and the clinic director at Revital Health. With her extensive background in naturopathy and passion for holistic health, she helps people transform their lives by addressing the root causes of their health concerns. Jodi specializes in areas like digestive health, hormonal balance, and skin health, making her the perfect guest for our show. In today's episode, Jodi will share her insights on how naturopathy can be integrated into your skin journey to promote healthier, younger looking skin. We'll also explore some of the key principles of healthy living and how Jodi uses them in the clinic, some things that she sees, and tying it up all together with longevity and how we look and live better as the years go on. So prepare for a very engaging conversation, enlightening notes, and a conversation that is packed with practical tips and expert advice. So stay tuned, and you don't want to miss this. All right, Jodi, welcome to the Biohacking Beauty podcast.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on, Amitai.
Kind of again, because we repurposed the episode that in your podcast, but I will have introduced you properly at the beginning of this episode, but maybe we can start by you telling me a little bit about what you do, a little bit about kind of your journey
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So I'm a naturopath. I started my journey really as a young child, wanting to be a naturopath. I wanted to shout it from the top of the roofs that I was a naturopath because I had such an amazing result for myself when I was only 8 or 9. And I've always wanted to be a healer, I think. It was natural for me. And I lived on a farm and we were treating animals constantly with natural medicines and all sorts. But then for my own health journey, it was more so around I had quite severe allergies and asthma. So I was in hospital a lot when I was younger. And I had enough, and my mum also, so went to see a naturopath. And 6 months later, no asthma and no allergies. So really from that moment, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to become a naturopath, and they're amazing. So
Wow.
I really just like my whole life. So by the time I'd finished high school, I knew I went and studied a little bit of human sort of movement and body work. And then went straight into learning to be a naturopath. So then that followed on to be masters, so human nutrition masters as well. And now I own a beautiful clinic that I'm very proud of and get to talk to the most amazing people on my podcast, and also co-host Smarter Not Harder, and got to meet and work with now Health Optimization Medicine Practice and the non-for-profit. So I get to travel the world with them as well. And yeah, I find myself to be so blessed and to help people day in, day out in the clinic using biohacking technologies and biohacking skincare, hence why it brings me on the podcast, and just find the best for my clients wherever I can, including, some of the, pushing the edge type treatments and some of the things that people don't quite know about yet. I talk about hormones and peptides and all sorts of different things in terms of what even the Australian market now particularly So obviously I'm in Perth in WA. We're a little bit further behind to the rest of the world, I believe, from where we could be in terms of medical knowledge. Most people haven't even heard about the hyperbaric therapy, and so it's then re-explaining and talking to people and re-informing people of what this information and education is around just even basic health. So it's really interesting work.
Interesting. I would say that you are one of these people very rarely that you meet that has that really is doing a lot and is it feels like you really should be doing everything that you're doing. Like you fit right into whatever it is that whatever scenario I meet you in, whether it is the nonprofit or obviously your clinic or talking about peptides, whatever that is, you embody that role very beautifully.
Thank
Um,
you.
it's true. About talking about the technologies that maybe someone who is here in the United States would think they're more standard, but you see them coming a little bit later to Australia. Do you think
Mm.
it's more regulatory, or do you think it's more just the butterfly wing effect that takes a while to travel across the world? Why is it that you see things a little bit later?
Yeah, I think in two ways it's sort of a pro to Australia and a con. But with the US and what I've observed with the medical system there, you don't get given a standard level of care in terms of we have Medicare, we have the ability to see a doctor with no cost, we see a medical system with no cost, we can step into a hospital and not pay a thing. So we get given
Also in
basic.
America, you just get the bill later, and
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, exactly, you don't know until later. But
exactly.
yeah, we are blessed in that way, so we have acute care when we need it, but I think that comes at a cost because then we don't have the pressure where America does, in that you have the choice then to seek out the best care that you're going to spend your money on. So we don't have that competition here. And so therefore we just get given and we take what we're given. And so that just leaves no room for pushing the edges and really finding the best care. And it takes celebrities or sports people. And I see we have ambassadors in various sports here at the clinic. It takes those types of ambassadors and spokespersons to actually get this information out to people for them to believe that it works, because they don't think it's necessary. So I think that's partially, plus other things, but I think that's one of the biggest ones.
And do you think that it is making your job as a avant-garde type introducer of these sorry thankfully there's an editor. Do you think it thank you. Do you think it makes your job easier or harder? I'll give you an example. We have an account that we adore. They're called Hydrate Alaska. Yeah,
Mm.
you guessed it. They are in Alaska. And she, um, shout out to Hydrate Alaska, but they love the idea of being. They say that they have basically like a 3 to 5 year window into the future when they come and they visit something like American Academy for Anti-Aging Medicine, A4M, or some biohacking conference or something like that, where they're saying, I know what's coming, what's going to be popular in like 3 to 5 years. I can prepare for it. I can be a little bit ahead of the curve, and I know how to manage my practice. Do you feel the same, or do you feel it's a even a higher? It's like treading through water, where you would like to use different technologies, but you are. It's hard for you to introduce them,
Yeah, it's
or
a good
both. I don't know.
question. Yeah, no, it's a good question. Yeah, in short, it's frustrating. So when I So when I travel, London, health optimization summit I went to in 2019, I got super excited about certain technologies and I brought them back here and everyone's like, what's that? What's that going to do for me? I'm like, okay. Every time I go to the US, I'm like, yes, bring it back, brain tap, all these different technologies that I see so much potential. And I stack and layer, and it's more work for education, put it that way. So I have to actively educate my clinicians, my staff, and then clients, and slowly the word spreads. And I think it's the best way. My business has always spread this way, in that word of mouth is the best referral and the best way to get clients also that are wanting to put the work in. And that's enough of a sell for people to say, well, this really, really worked for me. But also I'm blessed to be a lecturer and a mentor for a lot of students, and I'm affiliated with universities that want to have their students here to be watched and monitored, and doing some more practical work. So I also get to spread it through the younger or the upcoming generation of naturopaths and practitioners. So they also appreciate it because they don't get taught that at the base level, just like other, practitioners and doctors don't get taught at that sort of base level. Before I went into lecturing, compounding wasn't even done in the naturopathic student clinic. So it's sort of, most of them hadn't even heard of, that cannabis was actually a good medicine. It was on the toxicity list when we were teaching it at Endeavour.
Wow.
So, some of these things a slow burn, but also it's the quality and knowing what is quality. There's a lot of clinics not doing the right thing. And I was just having a conversation today with one of the reps that came around, and I have to intricately look at every single detail, even if it's been sold to me. And I have to intricately look at what technologies are required for each person. And we have vigilant testing for every person that comes through. So we make sure that we're doing the right job and we're the best advocate for the business. Otherwise, we're not selling the industry the way it should be. So it's one of my biggest passions, just to make sure that naturopaths are given the full credit that we deserve, because we do such a good job. And our degree is so intense and in-depth, where we get, mocked quite a lot by the medical community. A lot in Australia mainly. I feel like Europe and America has a different understanding of what a naturopath is compared to what even Australia does. So yeah.
Interesting.
Mm.
I think maybe in America, again, as you said, the option of like the ability to choose your provider is a little bit more readily taken as an endeavor, not even available, but taken as an endeavor. And then naturopaths kind of win a lot of the times. Like it's not like allopathic medicine doesn't make fun of them. They would have if they didn't feel like it's actually going to drive more people to naturopaths, right? Like in America, normally when you tell someone not to do something, they're going to do it. So but to connect to what you said, I feel similar to you, where we, at the end of the day, we have to make a good product, because we are not, or our competition got an investment by so for example, a company like it's all good. So Timeline Nutrition, which is obviously the company that started the trend of urolithin A, gets acquired by Nestle. Like they have Nestle money, and then they get $66 million from L'Oreal for a skincare branch. So that's a competition. That's a competition that you cannot win by over ads, ad spending, right? You have to make a product that is unique. And the challenges are also that you might use ingredients, and we do use ingredients that most people will ask themselves, what the hell are you talking about? So
exactly. Takes a lot of re-education.
Yeah, so I agree with you completely. Shifting gears a little bit and talking about, skin health in your clinic.
Mm.
I'm sure, and we kind of spoke off air, you really do see the gamut, right? You see everything from what do you see? Let me
Mm.
give
Mm.
it to you.
So, like general practice, but also have health optimization
Yeah,
concierge part. So, there's a lot of clients coming through who can and will and want to know everything and want to spend the money, and they're just like, what do I need? And boom, boom, boom. So here's the skincare range. Here's all the testing. Here's the compounding. Here's the everything. So I get those clients. I get the children, babies. So like I treat from preconception, fertility, pregnancy, babies, children. I treat a lot of children because there's a lot going on in the generation coming up. And then, as I was saying to you off air, I treat a lot of menses, puberty, girls, boys, and then all through the life cycle. You get then teenagers coming through with skin conditions. You have a lot of autoimmune coming through, particularly at the moment. There is a huge amount of inflammatory conditions and autoimmune conditions, and that looks like psoriasis. And I have clients all over the world, but rheumatoid, arthritis and psoriasis and combinations of things that you just don't wish upon anyone. It's awful.
yeah,
And we also have a lot of clients then coming up into perimenopause, busy mums, and then into perimenopause and menopause. And these transitional stages for hormones are just chaotic on the skin. Not only do you feel like crap and then you feel like your emotions are all over the place, but then you feel like you look like crap, and it's not ideal for
yeah.
the health of a person as well. So, and then I, range all the way up into 80s, 90s, people wanting, and I hear the most fantastic stories, and vitality and wanting to look after their health and their skin. And some clients will come in and they'll use their weekly cash money that their husbands have given them to buy their Young Goose products. And they walk in like all fancy, and I'm like, looking fabulous, and their skin is glowing. So it's about like the care, the self care, and the love that they have for themselves, and they're doing that, and I teach them that.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a practice, and you get the best quality product as well. So I'm just
Yeah.
stoked, completely stoked by the range, and we have pretty much the full range, and they sell out so quickly we can't fill them quick enough. And now it's just and even
Well,
the cost, yeah,
Australian customs also helps, not helping them, fill up quick enough.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. I know, I know.
Tell me,
But yeah.
so it's very interesting because, especially, what I feel in the health optimization space in the United States, there is most of the time, respectfully, there is a conscious choice of saying we don't treat, I would say, like, run of the mill, or, um, I would say, like, serious, harsh diseases. We
Mm,
optimize health,
mm,
for many reasons, even if they are, medically led
mm-hmm,
or provider led. Um, Most of the time, the industry is like that. For that, you have another doctor for that.
mm,
We are here to optimize your health,
mm.
and it seems to me that you really are doing everything like A to Z.
Yeah, in naturopathic practice, we have to, and I think we sort of take we get so many clients, and I would literally be a millionaire if I had collected $1 for each every time someone said it to me. But they're like, I don't know where else to go. I don't have anything else to do. My doctor said they can't treat me anymore, and they don't know what to do with me. So I'm here, and we're just like, well, better find something for to support them with. Lucky we're
Yeah,
good at our jobs that we can actually give them some support. And some clients come in and just want to be heard and want to be
yeah,
validated, and that's powerful in itself. So
yeah,
we have to be able to treat sort of A to Z. But yes, I would love that people came in and said, base work, foundational work is always going to be there. We always have to strip back the layers of whatever disease state box they've been put in, and we have to strip that back because it could be false. A lot of people come in wrongly diagnosed as well. So we have to just work with what we've got, that foundational brickwork of looking at the dashboard and looking at the metabolites and the base. So I really don't pay attention to diagnoses whatsoever unless obviously I know they're there, but I just look at what I can see. And so then it can be a completely different picture. But it's interesting to do it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I also agree with the approach of kind of metabolite first, or like building blocks first.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I ever spoke about it off air, but we're pretty close to completion. I have spoke to Dr. Scott Scher about it. We actually have been developing for the last year, together with a wonderful group from Arizona State University, a metabolomic test specifically for the skin.
Oof,
that we will be able to basically advise which products someone really needs, and also categorize them and say that's the most important and that's the second one, etc. According to your real skin's needs. And by the way, this is going to be the first test in the world, but it's not the first test that claims to be individualized, or there are a few companies that are trying to do it with genetic testing. But the problem is it's obviously not very accurate. It is hypothetical when you talk about genetic testing.
Not in the now.
Not in the now. It's all potential. The cool thing about it is you can take a lot of the things that they are doing well, their training or their interface or the way that they explain why products need to be used. So that's actually, we're very grateful that there are other companies who are doing that. We just obviously are going to translate it to metabolomics, which is exciting.
So exciting. It's an organ, it needs to be looked after. And a lot of people don't realize that. And I was just having a conversation with a 13-year-old today. She's like, why is my skin so red and it's irritated? I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, I love putting on makeup. What type of makeup do you put on? Oh, right. Okay. So don't realize that it's an organ. It goes through. It's trying to fight up against something. It's protecting you. So, yeah.
Yeah, I actually, so you said a lot there. Maybe I want to talk about a little bit like the gut-brain connection, which obviously arises in conversations with adolescents, but I have some questions about skin aging and gut health. But maybe first, this is something I think, this juxtaposition between being an organ that communicates vitality or virility, and an organ that is a protective organ that sacrifices itself like a protective mother sacrifice, like the giving tree. It sacrifices itself in order to allow the rest of the body to function properly. Because any other organ, if UV hits it the way that it hits the skin, this organ is fried, right? So the differences between them as you age, hormonally, chronologically and hormonally, really shifts. And you mentioned that you deal with a lot of like perimenopause, menopause. Do you have conversations about, hormones and skin when someone comes to you and says, I'm aging? How does that shepherding look like? How does this? How do you lead them to have it, better skin aging?
Yeah. So there's multitudes of that, but normally it comes first. People around, my clients around the age of 37 will come to me and say, skin laxity, Jodi, like help, like what's wrong with my face? It's not looking like it used to. And I'm like, okay, so now you're ready to listen to me, are you? All right, here we go. So it's normally them coming in for that, and that's the way that I, reel them in, and this is the
Yeah.
piece of information you need to know. So yes, so we talk about the basics, and we talk about hydration and sun is a huge problem here in Australia. Protection, but also getting enough sun. So your hormones are, vitamin D, pro hormone. We need all these things to help support the skin, but we also need to be smart about light. So I really talk a lot about light, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, and we talk about, and I'll jump into emotions after, but if they are under bright lights at nighttime, then there's no protection that the skin's always protecting, there's no repair. So we
Hmm.
need to be aware of that daily, not only for our sleep and repair and cycles, but also for what's being seen on the skin. Um, so what I also see is a lot of clients who are, vital, who are living well, who are outside or, in the fresh air a lot versus in a stale office under fake LED lights. They age much faster than those that are doing what they love in passion.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of these clients. I had one just today, and I have to sometimes look at their ages again. How old is this client? She's 56. Wow, her skin is incredible. And I know they've not had work done or Botox or any of this sort of stuff, but they have lived a life of good health, good balance, not overly, protective of
Yeah.
their health and living too carefully, but also, great sex and parties and travel and, being in the sun and sunbaking and laughing. So it speaks to a lot, and we've spoken about that. Emotions stored in the face and emotions stored in the skin. It speaks to a lot of that. So I do talk to them, and it's one of my sort of non-negotiable parts is having fun, having joy, finding your passion, and it's silly things like dancing naked in the kitchen and making sure that you are having good sex, because it's a big part of who we are. So the skin is also, some of the women will come to me and their first thing will be also vaginal health. Well,
Yeah.
now my vaginal health is thinning. It's the same. It's the same thing. So we're looking at hormones and impact around that as well. So the biggest thing with hormonal impacts with women is the thinning of the skin, is the drooping of the skin, and then even sexual activity. Like we all know, after you've had good sex, you're glowing because it's it's vibrating, right? And I know I sound like a broken record with a lot of my clients on this as well, but we forget what it means to be human sometimes.
Yeah.
So a lot of this is bringing that back. And then obviously there's all the nutrients and the cofactors and the vitamin A's, and then the skincare on top of that. And it's a ritual that they have, that they put on their skincare, and the moisture and the protection and the biobarrier, all of these things are, and the bioshield, really important that clients realize that the damage that they're getting daily is the consistency that builds up to the damage at the
Hmm.
end. So we all want quick fixes, and there is no quick fix. There's no magic wand. And so trying to get that to clients' perspectives is really tricky, but they will
Hmm.
listen to you when they have something on the outside that they're not happy about.
Yeah.
Full
Yeah.
circle.
This is the premise of this podcast. At the end of the day, our products are only going to work as well as the client is kind of living their life, right? Like if the
Yeah.
client is going to be, you know, many of us don't realize that um, blue light, artificial light, is the antithesis to the mitochondria, to what red light therapy is. It does the opposite to what red light therapy does. So it basically makes the mitochondria like create less energy. It does many other things, damages DNA, etc. But it is basically the anti red light. So thinking that you're 20 minutes, like Gary Brecker talking about, oh yeah, I get 20 minutes into the infrared bed every day, and blah blah blah. Like, yeah, but someone's in an office under artificial light for 8 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
It's huge. The biggest change we made here was we've got big LEDs in the office
mhm,
here, but we're all light educated. And one of my naturopaths here, Danielle, she studies light and she gives talks on light, and she's an oncologist, oncology naturopath. So she does a lot of work with cancer. And she was like, "We are not having lights here, Jodi." And I'm like, "I know." So all the lights go off. We've got low lights. We've got lamp changing. So we go to amber to bright lights if we need
mhm.
in the middle of the day. So we all change our light environment here. And since we've done that, we've been quite light conscious, but we made a big conscious effort this year. My energy and concentration and ability to focus and think, like I can go 8 hours here and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the day. Like I'm not even tired. So it makes a big difference to how you function in your day as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you mentioned, a lot of it is not necessarily what hits the skin. It is what hits our eyes, what kind of gets interpreted in our brain, and how it in turn now manages our circadian rhythm, now manages the way that our hormones or even uh, catecholamines, our stress, the stress molecules, the stress hormones in the brain
Mm,
are being expressed. All of these things, people think that cortisol is a bad thing, for example. Cortisol is not a bad thing. Cortisol is bad when it is expressed in the wrong way or in the wrong times, but it's
mm,
part of that clock that manages our circadian rhythm, right?
mm, mm.
Um, so I think light discipline, or whatever you want to call it, is probably the next sleep. You know how now celebrities or whoever is talking about sleep being Olympians are now talking about sleep being the drug that they needed to whatever. I think light discipline is coming next. Apropos, living a little bit looking a little bit at the future, looking at the United States or Europe or whatever, and then bringing it back. I think that's something maybe we should learn from societies that are more ancestral, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that, that don't have necessarily the LEDs in their office every day.
Yep.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I say it to my kids all the time, and you'll be saying it to yours soon too. But yeah, at night time, I'm like, turn your lights off in your bedroom. We've got amber lights and we've got red lights. I'm like, no one like say exactly like that. I'm like, do you think people like 200 years ago had this? No, they did not. Turn it off. Why do you think
well, to be
everyone's
honest, I tell this to my parents.
yeah,
So
yeah,
um, so do you see? I think talking about like people coming to you at 37. Do you think this is a newer discussion, or you've been having the discussion of kind of perimenopause for a while? I feel like in the United States, that's something that people are waking up to more and more within the last decade, maybe even less.
yeah. I totally agree. I think in the and yeah, I've been talking about it now more in the last year with clients
Yeah.
for sure. I hear some shocking things. I hear clients who are 46 going, "What's perimenopause?" And I'm like,
Hmm.
what? What do you mean menopause? What is that? Where have you been?
Yeah.
what? Yeah, we think that we
Yeah.
know, and everyone knows a lot, but really, so it's quite scary how little education there is out there, and also with young girls going through puberty, it's exactly the same, and it's
Hmm.
exactly the same changes, and you see some very very similar symptoms across both. Yes,
Hmm.
puberty doesn't have, hot flushes and things like that, but they have the same emotional dysregulation. They have the same period dysregulation. They have the same bleeding, and menstrual
Yeah.
dysregulation. And same skin, like there will be skin issues that are very, very similar on both ends. And, digestive issues, very, very similar on both ends. And, I'll have young girls come through I have a 14-year-old having an anxiety attack in my office, then I'll have a 45-year-old having an anxiety attack in my office. It's really uncontrollable, overarching emotions that are really not nice to be living with. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it is a very new discussion. It's very overdue, and more
Mm-hmm.
education is necessary for it. Like naturopaths, we always talk about these transitional periods, but I think it takes the collective knowledge, the collective information across social media and news and books, and
Mm-hmm.
advocates in the field. And there's many now coming through, which is incredible for perimenopause, because women are expected to be performing at the same level. And so I
Yeah.
had a young girl, and again, just today, we we're talking about her schoolwork, and she's just had a period. She started a period, and then now she's like, I can't concentrate like I used to. I'm feeling horrible. And I see the same with perimenopause. They're in their jobs, and suddenly they can't focus. They can't concentrate. Their bosses are getting angry at them, and they're feeling like they're alone, and they get depressed. And so there's big changes. Estrogen is a huge shift in the brain, and for both ends, there's fluctuations coming through, and we're not learning how we can take effect on both half of our cycles to
Yeah.
effectiveness. So girls need to know, women need to know what that looks like, where I can have
Mm-hmm.
my best impact on the world, and what I need to be doing at different stages. It makes a
Yeah.
big difference. So yeah,
And are you
it's new.
and are you do you when someone comes to you and they have perimenopause symptoms, do you test for hormonal imbalance? And if there is a hormonal imbalance, then what?
Mm. So yes, there's some great testing. So we can do Dutch testing, which is
Yeah.
really in depth. So we do that quite often in the clinic for both fertility and then perimenopause. Um, a general blood test can tell you a lot. It just surprises me that many doctors don't know how to read them. And then they
Hmm.
say, well, you're in perimenopause. Okay. Do you want an antidepressant? And then out the office. And then they come into my office and go, what do I do? I don't want to take an antidepressant. I'm like, yeah, you don't need to take an antidepressant. So
Hmm.
yeah, so we look at that. We look at what stage they're in. We track symptoms and body awareness, and communicating that awareness teaches us a lot about what is going on. So it's investigation work is looking at that. So yeah, then what we look at different stages. So it depends on where the woman is. Yes, I do recommend bioidentical hormones. I think they're incredible. Sometimes these things can be life saving depending on what they want to be doing with their career, their life, how they're coping. And then herbs, I've held early ovarian failure with just herbs because
Wow.
she was not wanting to be on any of the hormones. So we held her there for 3 years with good levels of hormones just on herbs like sage and wild yam, and looking at some of the HPA axis, which is a big impact on this time of the cycle for the women. So yeah, there's lots that you can do, and then obviously we do a lot of the nutritional stuff as well. So you need to make sure all that is rock solid. That comes without you walk in and you always get your brickwork sorted. That's without a
Yeah.
doubt here. And then all the rest of the stuff is fluffy. And then you hop into a machine, or you hop into the hyperbaric or the red light and the saunas, and they're just all going to work so much better with the brickwork solid. Yeah.
Hmm. Do you see? So, yeah, for sure. Uh, do you see a lot of correlation between um, either perimenopause or like hormonal imbalances and the some other maybe like autoimmune issues or um, things that are arising, some other failures of organs in the body that you see that are kind of correlating together?
Mm. So yeah, inflammation. I think it also is the other way around. So any
Hmm.
inflammatory conditions are worsening the symptoms of
Hmm.
perimenopause. So you'll notice it a lot more
Yeah.
if there is already pre-existing conditions like diabetes and insulin resistance. I'm seeing a huge increase in insulin resistance. So women, again, so that's sort of like a correlation I'm seeing. There's a lot of insulin resistance, poorly diagnosed and poorly treated and cared for, and perimenopause.
Mm-hmm.
allergies, and like mast cell reactivity. The most
Mm-hmm.
common is I could drink alcohol last year and now I can't drink it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so there's a lot of that, and then also things like rosacea is a huge component of perimenopause.
Mm-hmm.
Bacteria and immune system is dysregulating because of the estrogen, so therefore
Mm-hmm.
your protective abilities on even the skin barrier, bacteria are then able to grow. So yeah, there's a huge correlation between immune perimenopause and vice versa. Yeah, big
Yeah.
ones. Yeah.
What about thyroid? Do you see a lot of correlation there, or are you saying this is, although they are in the same vicinity as far as things going wrong, they're mutually exclusive, and we're not trying to infer one to the other.
Mm, I think I think you can never say that nothing's related.
Hmm.
Put it
Yeah.
that way. So I think there's always an interplay between multiple things, and the body is so complex in that way that it talks. And there's a matrix. I tell it to everyone. It's a spider web. It's like this beautiful matrix, and I'm the matrix investigator.
Yeah.
And so yes, the thyroid is a huge one. I'm seeing a huge shift in thyroid antibodies since COVID. And we know that
Hmm.
COVID itself has damaged in part, potentially not long term, but we're seeing a huge rise in antibody shifts.
Hmm.
Yeah, all the research is saying that there is a sloughing off of antibodies and a damage of the virus to the thyroid gland. So women are being prescribed and being told that they have an autoimmune thyroid condition. They're getting scared, but then they have the antibodies decline very, very rapidly once we start treating them correctly, and their inflammation levels go down. So it's one thing to really always get a second opinion, because I find it can be life changing for someone to be told a certain news. The amount of times I've had clients and I've had to talk them down, I always get clients to see the doctor and see me straight after, because they
Hmm.
will be told certain things like, you're insulin resistant, you're never going to be falling pregnant, you've got PCOS, you've got thyroid antibodies, you're going to be on medication for the rest of your life. And then I look at the results and I'm like, that's not what I see at all. Like, really? And then so having to talk to them and talk them through that, because words are so important, and we can't
Yeah.
be telling clients these words because we know how impactful it is, and it becomes a part of them then. So
Yeah.
yeah, so thyroid, immune, gut. There's a huge inflammatory issue. I'm seeing a lot of more Crohn's. I'm seeing a lot more IBD with clients in these hormonal stages and times as well. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's I kind of left it behind, but it's a good time to get back to it. Um, where are you in the, right now in the United States? Leaky gut is I mean, it's I don't know. To be honest, I kind of live in a bubble where people talk health,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't actually know how popular or how known that concept is. But is it something that's known in Australia? Is it something that is being discussed? The idea of, the gut brain, gut skin axis?
There is leaky gut has been spoken of for a
Hmm.
long time. More again, like I'm in a bubble of naturopathic world and medicine world. So yeah, and clients will come in and say, "Do I have leaky gut?" So then I realize
Hmm.
I'm like, "Okay, it must be out there somewhere." So yes, it has been around and they're aware of it, but they're not. I don't think know the degree of what the impact is. But there's not much mention about leaky skin. So we've
Yeah.
talked about that previously, and obviously Kiran
Mhm.
as well. So there's not so much awareness around the skin being that component and that closely related to it.
Hmm.
We test for leaky gut, so we can tell clients, this is your leaky gut and this is what it's going to do, and this makes you
Hmm.
more volatile in your immune system, and you're not going to be able to detoxify effectively, and you can't clear hormones effectively, and this is going to put you at risk for this and this, so we need to be looking at it and healing it up. And it's totally possible because the body can do the right thing under the right circumstances when you give it that. And that's
Yeah.
the most empowering part, is telling them that. So yeah, there is awareness. I think intestinal permeability is where we try and get it mentioned, so they know that sort of like there is a technical term around it, and knowing like what actually increases the zonulin and what are the indicators of looking for this inflammation drivers, etc., etc. Yeah.
Yeah. So they know it's not, whatever. It's not, you're not a shaman. You're, no offense to shamans. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
but interesting. Okay. So a lot of people, I assume, come to you and looking for a silver bullet.
Yes.
And funny enough, obviously there are no silver bullets, but there are things that I'm sure are your favorite modalities and your favorite kind of herbs or compounds for specific conditions. So since you probably won the best skin of 2024 worldwide, what are some of your kind of favorite modalities or ingredients or herbs as it pertains to like skin health and skin longevity?
Mm. So my personal routine, am I saying? Is that what? Yeah. Okay. All right.
Well, routine, but also I think right now in the United States, for example,
Mm.
astaxanthin is kind
Mm.
of having some kind of renaissance, right?
Mm.
Um, but it's a nice antioxidant, but I think it's just someone's favorite antioxidant just kind
Yeah.
of got the lead, and
Exactly.
and
It caught
so
wind.
exactly. So I wonder what are your kind of favorite, uh, you know, whether
Yeah.
it is like modalities, whether it is obviously I'm sure you're going to say hyperbarics, but I'll or again like maybe ingredients. What are some of your things? And yeah, what is your routine? What do you do?
Mm. Yeah. Okay. So I have always been a stickler for consistency. And
Hmm.
it's boring, but it works. So, and my husband always teases me about it too. He's just like, can't you just like not put that on your face every night? I'm like, no. So my consistent habits that I think give myself, good skin, is I always have my basics of nutrients. So we'll start from the bricks up. I'm always making sure I'm tested and I'm knowing what's coming through. Always
Hmm.
have good fish oils coming in if I need it, if I'm testing that I need it. I'm looking after my deficiency states. Iron has a huge impact. So there's so many little nutrients and minerals that we forget about that have the base blocks of building healthy cells that builds the skin and collagen. So I do love, mixing all my amino acids and having a really good diet and a foundation of that, and then experimenting with certain things that I can better my brain and my skin and my organs with. So there's always sort of a partial experimentation going on because I have to, I'm just naturally in this space, so I have to
Hmm.
experiment for my clients. I do always have vitamin C in some format coming through, and therefore glycine and collagen. And colostrum, looking after my gut in multiple different ways. I've got a herb at the moment that's got rosehip in there. So the rosehips, it's emotional, it's love, but it's also vitamin C. So I've got that going on at the moment. I'm always looking after my liver because that's, excreting and supporting my body. So the basics are boring, but I do them. Always sweating in some form. At the moment, I'm doing Pilates 4 times a week in a hot room, so I'm sweating all the time.
Yeah,
Red light
that's
when
how
I
people live in Florida, by the way.
yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
always sweat in some form.
Just sweat. My skin, my every time I'm in a humid environment, my skin loves it. So, definitely born to be in the humidity. So I'll hop in the red light, definitely, in the sunlight every single morning. So I'll hop out with my glass of water and maintain hydration and look at the sun. So there's always that component coming in. I'm promoting my solar callus. I'm building my solar callus throughout the winter as well as the summer. So I'm always
Hmm.
out in the sun in safe amounts, in full body sun. And so I'm a massive proponent of that, and I feel so much better. hyperbaric when I can, infrared saunas when I can. So all the treatment sort of protocols, yes. And then, treatment wise, I will sometimes do facials. I don't often do facials. I don't have time for them. I'll do lasers every so often. PRP, I've done quite often, once or twice every few years. And Young Goose, since I've switched over to Young Goose, which was the start of last year now, that's crazy. My skin has loved it. So previous to that, I was with other companies like Rationale and other products that was starting to really create a bit more of a barrier withdrawal and breakdown. So now, and I'm a stickler for it. Like every morning I do my routine, and I've got so many things on there at the moment from the Young Goose range. I'm doing the youth daily and the youth, so the two new products that you've, the reset,
Yeah.
two new products that you've got coming out, they're in all the time. And I've got retinol. I love the retinol. We've spoken about that before. And I'll do the BioShield because I'm a big proponent of the lighting, and I know that how much that's impacting me and the skin, the harsh sun that's here for my skin.
Yeah.
One thing I had that I love, like my most favorite product was that, and I know now because I missed it. So I didn't have hyperbaric mask for a little while. Like didn't have it for 2 months, and I was like, what is going on with my skin? And I brought it back in. I'm like, oh, there you are. Hello. So it's my, biggest thing that I noticed that's a layer. And sometimes I will put it on in the morning and leave it on in the day and at night. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Robbie, the owner of Therasage, uses it. He calls me. He's like, "Is that okay that I use it like all the time?" I was like, yeah. Yeah. So this is interesting. Do you do any? Do you feel that hyperbarics as a modality, do you feel in the future hyperbarics is going to be the same way, going to be treated from consumer standpoint, the same way that red light therapy is treated now, where people are going to buy something for their home, and they're going to kind of have a protocol where they expose themselves to it in some fashion, like every week or every so often, for the longevity benefits? Or do you feel it's more acute?
I hope for that. I wish for that people will have access to hyperbarics in their home. I wish that they would learn the benefits of it. I can't speak highly enough, and I can't get all the information out that I want to every single client that walks in the door. So multiple times now that I've had clients come through, and for skin, to tell you the truth, has been the biggest changes that I've seen. It's really hard to do a protocol or do a piece of equipment when people can't see the instantaneous results.
Yeah.
And they don't know what's going on. They're like, oxygen in a pressurized chamber? Like that's going to do anything. So, it's proving the research and showing them the case studies and then them experiencing it. So, I've had the most amazing transformations in this clinic, and we've only had it here for 2 years. So, and I've heard from countless people of other case studies that have just been absolutely incredible. And for multiple ranges of acute cases to then longevity to emotional changes. Like we'll have clients come out and release a huge amount of emotion because it's opening up different processing centers within the brain. We've got athletes at the moment coming in. They reduce their ankle size from having an operation after hopping in the hyperbaric. They're coming out. They're like, I feel great. There's no pain. So there's the most amazing changes. And then one of my clients who was my biggest case that we had, and beautiful client, she couldn't sleep. She had insomnia. She quit work. She had full body dermatitis, psoriasis, couldn't stop itching. She was in my office itching. She's like, I can't deal with this anymore, Jodi. I don't know what else to do. And I said to her, like, we've done the herbs, we're doing this, we've got the foundations right. Like, can you just not hop into the hyperbaric, please, for 4 times a week? Like, will you just believe me that this will work? And I think she did a podcast with me, and she was in her, I think, 8th session. She was driving in here, and she's like, I'm not even itchy today. Like, what? So it was almost immediate. Within 2 weeks, she was healing. The skin was starting to release, and the body was just relaxing. By the time that she'd finished her 20 sessions, she had all of her skin was clear. So,
Wow.
and she was sleeping, and now she's been traveling. She's going to South America this year. She has no sign of this in there, but she trusted and she knew that was going to help her. So it just takes a little bit of belief and trust in a practitioner, but there is so much mistrust out there these days because there is so much junk, and that's really hard to differentiate. And that's what I see from clients a lot, is they'll tell me, I don't know what is the best place to be doing this stuff. And I'm like, well, you can try here first.
Mm-hmm.
You can try. I know I'm trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, and you're first of all, you're right. I think it's important. You can't be a nerd of everything. I know I fail at it. Like I am, I love history, and I love jujitsu, and I love my job, and I love hanging out with 6 months old, almost 7 months old Lev. Obviously, I love Anastasia. I love having friends, but you can't be a professional at everything. You cannot. And that's the things that are the top of my priority. And my parents obviously keep it. So you can't be a professional in everything.
No.
And especially if a new condition arises, a new challenge arises. Now you need to take it and now most of us feel like, especially high achievers, oh, now I want to know everything about another thing. I want to be a professional in another area. Not only that it is difficult, it is also impossible. It means that one of your core tenets of who you are is going to get watered down if that's the route you're gonna go down. And sometimes, as you said, you just have to, Dr. Neil Polvin, who I consider one of the smartest people I know, said it about being a biohacking health optimization doctor. Is like, I can't know everything. I can't be a professional in everything. I have a doctor I call when I want to talk specifically about GLP-1 weight loss peptides or drugs right now, like Wegovy, semaglutide, whatever.
Yeah.
So you said it very well. You are in the trenches trying to do the right thing, and obviously, it's incredible to me how often you get out of Australia. It's like, we can think it's like the Suez Canal or the La Manche Canal or something. You stroll to the United States or to Europe so often. It's pretty crazy.
I have to be biohacked to do it, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I think traveling strips to bare bones the ability to biohack. Like, I love my infrared setup where you're standing in front of all the panels ever made. But because we were traveling a lot, obviously not this year, but last year, I fell in love with a device that is about the size of 2 palms, that is called Chroma, which is like a crazy powerful red light therapy device. Like it can burn you basically. But you can take it anywhere. So I think, this is, or you create connections, right? Like we spoke about you coming to Las Vegas in December. We know where you're going to have your hyperbarics. That's another thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Shout out to Desert Moon.
Absolutely. Thanks in advance, guys.
Yeah. And the thing is, they listen to this podcast. So, so this is, I think, super critical. Just the idea of entrusting your health to someone who that's their passion, that's what they do every day, and you will never live enough lifetimes to kind of get the amount of experience that they have.
No, absolutely not. But it's also, you're through the trenches and learning, but you're learning what's true for you now. And
Hmm.
sometimes things and opinions change too. So it's
Hmm.
knowing that I'm doing my best now for what I know and what resources I have, and I'm trying my best to keep up as well. So, there's new things. Like I say, I'm always trying to search for those clients, particularly when they say, and they come into my office and they say, I just don't know what to do anymore. I'm completely lost. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
okay, like, you've given me the job, I'll take this on and help and support you. And there is nothing better in this world than seeing someone come through an illness or move through their health and be able to live their life again. And, that's the passion. That's why I do it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, traveling also pulls back the bare bones of actually how healthy you are and how resilient you are. Because for the amount of long haul flights that I've
Yeah.
done, I can't live without my methylene blue, and I can't live
Yeah.
without my sleep supports and other things that come in there. Like you say, the traveling devices, you need to be able to do that. So anyone can do these minimalist things too, and that's what it comes back to. I think we can be minimal. We don't need the extravagant. We can still do the basics and the necessary. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think methylene blue is a great, we didn't even speak about that, but
Yeah.
methylene blue to me is probably, um, I don't know if it's my number one supplement, but it's there. It's up there. It's a
Yeah.
top supplement.
Yeah, it keeps me
Um,
functioning, especially fighting off when you got the little ones around and they're all snotty all over you. And my little ones have been sick recently. I've just been like
mhm.
methylene blue every single day. I've got the best colored urine, which is awesome. It's very
Yeah,
fun
it
when
is
you
awesome.
get your kid walks in, they're like, "Oh my gosh, mum, what's wrong with you? You got a blue urine." But yeah, the brain, I've taken some, I've got some, blue on my tongue I take it before I do a podcast. It's great for obviously your mental support, but
Yeah.
it's immune system. That's where I take it for a lot of the time. And then
Yeah,
getting your oxygen back in.
for sure. And obviously NAD levels and everything. A lot of people are asking us, oh, could you please make skincare with methylene blue? And although it would be a cool concept, first of all, you can't, it is a dye. Like you can't have one without the other. Like you can't have it not stain your skin and have it in effective levels.
Yeah.
So it's either one or
Yeah.
the other.
Yeah.
But the
You'd have a
second
blue
thing
face.
is, yeah,
You've been Oompa Loompa, a blue one.
yeah, exactly. But the other thing is, it's so bioavailable.
Mm.
It's kind of repleting your body with or supplementing your body with levels that you need is so easy.
Mm.
It's it's
Yep.
not it's not something like, again, like NAD or spermidine or even like vitamin A's that you really need to dance between the raindrops to get it to where you want it in the right amounts. No, just shine some red light on something and on that area and take methylene blue and you're good.
And boom. Yeah. In it
C C
goes.
C60 is the same to me, where a
Yeah.
lot of companies actually have asked us, our research facility, to develop skincare with C60.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even like almost 10 years ago, a um, an Asian company
Mm.
uh, asked us to do it. Which, by the way, the skincare patent for C60 is held by Mitsubishi, the car company. Uh, True story. Um,
Oh my gosh. It gets funnier
but
and
that,
funnier. Nestle and Mitsubishi. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. But funny enough, it's not something that the ability to benefit your entire body and the skin at the same time without incurring some of the drawbacks, because it can make your skin sensitive to the sun,
okay.
um, is so easy. And
Mm.
again, with red light, I think you kind of directing it's very easy.
Mm.
Anyway,
C60, it has a resurgence recently. I've seen it, come out even more and through media and posting, and yeah, a lot more people
yeah,
are talking about it again.
I love it.
Mm.
I think my things that I really try and make sure I use consistently are methylene blue, C60, and red lights. And
Mm.
by the way, uh, unbeknownst to me, my friend Mike Belkowski, who owns BioLite, and is a fantastic person. He's actually writing a book. He's finishing to write a book, or maybe he already finished and he's publishing it now, about the relationship between C60, methylene blue, and red light.
Oh,
So,
awesome.
yeah.
We'll have to read that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Anyway, Jodi, we're trying to keep it under an hour. Never works, but we're trying to keep it under an hour. How do the cool thing is that people can tap into your knowledge even if they don't live in Perth,
Yeah.
WA, Western Australia. So
The
how
West
do
Aussies.
people? Yeah. By the way, off your coast, it's the most like there's some crazy island with a lot of snakes, right? That's what I heard.
We've got
Like,
Rottnest. Yeah, Rottnest Island. There's snakes everywhere though. Like, we're just used
Oh
to
my
snakes
God.
here. Yeah.
Oh
Walking
my
the dog
God.
the other day, I was like, oh my God, snake.
That's a no for Anastasia. I guess we're never moving there. Anyway, so how can people, first of all, kind of consume the knowledge that you put out there? You did mention your podcast. I would love for you to mention them again, and we're going to have links in the show notes. And also, how do people work with you if they wanted to?
Okay, beautiful. So yeah, my so Instagram is where we share a lot. Revital Health, so Revital_Health, and Jodi Duval is Instagram. Website Revital Health Clinic, so there's a lot of information there. So revitalhealth.com.au, and we're also the podcast you can find there and all major platforms, and it's just Revital Health. We keep things simple around here. And to work with me, I run concierge programs, so health optimization concierge programs that can be reached from around the world. And I also do mentoring. So I've got some programs with students, with practitioners, if they're struggling or if they need extra support. So I'm running one-on-one and also online mentoring workshops. And with Home Hope, so I do the Smarter Not co-host Smarter Not Harder podcast as well, and with the great minds over there. And we also have cohorts. So Home Hope is also doing a new cohort starting in September, which is the 9th of September. And I'm part of the faculty there. So we also join every week on the cohort calls, and you're learning, this great health optimization work that we're starting to, push out into the world and shifting that needle on health a little bit more.
Yeah, Jodi are amazing. Me, myself personally, and Yangus were so grateful to be part of your journey. We love working with you, and we love you as a person.
Thank you so much, Amate, and ditto. And I'm honoured to be on here and been speaking to you, and also to be a part of what you're doing. And we just love what you're doing. So yeah, it'd be great to if hopefully we can catch up again in December.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another podcast. We'll see you here next time. Bye. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Biohacking Beauty. We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Jodi Duval and gained valuable insights into how naturopathy can enhance your skincare routine. Remember, taking care of your skin is not just about the products you use, but also about the lifestyle choices and I would say even the habits that you have. Integrating holistic health principles can truly make a difference in achieving your youthful, glowing skin that we all desire. So first of all, don't forget to check out Young Goose Skincare for products that support your biohacking beauty journey. And we love to hear from you. So if you have any question about skincare, anti-aging, or biohacking, longevity, drop us a review and leave your questions on Apple Podcasts. We'll be answering listener questions in our upcoming episodes, so please make sure to tune in. Thank you for joining us today. Until next time.